At my birthday, my sister clinked her glass and said, "Let's drink to the biggest loser in this family." Everyone roared. I lifted my glass and said, "And for the ones who just lost their streaming, grocery and gas accounts." The table went quiet and my sister dropped her glass. My birthday was already ruined by the time the doorbell rang. It was supposed to be a quiet dinner. A small gathering with a few cousins, some close family, nothing fancy. I'd spent 2 days cooking and a whole week making my apartment look like something worth being proud of. I even bought a new rug, the kind Lauren would usually step on in heels and joke about looking very discount chic. They arrived 30 minutes late. Of course. Lauren came first, wearing sunglasses even though it was nearly dark. She walked in like she was being filmed, dropped her designer tote on my kitchen counter, and started opening cabinets like it was her place. My parents followed. My mom said hi while simultaneously scanning the room and whispering something to my dad, who immediately went to the fridge and helped himself to the last bottle of wine I'd saved for dinner. I knew right then this night wasn't going to be about me. It never was. At dinner, everyone was in their usual roles. My mom playing the part of the long-suffering matriarch who doesn't understand why I haven't settled down yet. My dad cracking jokes about how I still haven't figured out how to make real money. My sister bouncing between people like a socialite, talking about her new skincare routine and how important it is to not let capitalism ruin your vibe. My cousin Ethan asked how she managed to afford so much self-care. Lauren smiled and said, "It's amazing what happens when you let go and let the universe pay your bills." No one said anything. No one needed to. Everyone knew where her money came from. Me. It started small. An Uber here, a credit card bill there. Then it was full-on rent, groceries, her phone plan, her Spotify, her gas. She called me her abundance sponsor once like it was a joke. I laughed. Then I cried later thinking about how she had no job, no intention of getting one, and still somehow got treated like royalty every time she walked into a room. Me. I was the one barely making rent, juggling freelance projects with part-time shifts at a bookstore, still getting side eyes from my own parents because I didn't have a husband or a house. I thought I could stomach one night. Just smile through dinner, blow out some candles, fake a thank you for the gift card my parents would inevitably give me for a store I never shop at. But then she stood up. She tapped her glass with a fork and said, "Let's drink to the biggest loser in this family." Laughter followed instantly. Loud, like everyone had been waiting all night for her to say it. My mom laughed the hardest. My dad clinked his glass to hers. One of my aunts, not even drunk, said, "That's so Lauren," like it was adorable. I didn't laugh. I waited until they calmed down. Then I raised my glass and said, "And for the ones who just lost their streaming, grocery and gas accounts." Silence. Cold. Immediate. She blinked. The glass slipped. The wine hit the table and spread like blood across the tablecloth. My mom gasped, not at what I said but at the mess. My dad looked confused as if he needed a second to catch up. Lauren just stared at me. It took her a beat to understand. And then I watched it land. I stood up, grabbed my coat, walked right out the door without touching the cake I'd made from scratch. The next morning I woke up to a text. "Your Netflix isn't working. Fix it please." I wrote back. "Not my problem anymore. You'll figure it out." She didn't reply. But that was the beginning. The moment I stopped explaining, stopped apologizing and stopped pretending this family ever saw me clearly. Lauren didn't text the next morning. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji. Nothing. Then 3 days later. "Did you cancel the grocery deliveries?" I didn't answer. 10 minutes later another one came in. "That's actually insane. I had nothing in the fridge. Not even eggs. What is your problem?" That used to be the moment where I'd panic, feel guilty, rush to send her a gift card or order groceries to make it better. But I just turned off my phone and went back to my spreadsheet. The next day she called twice in a row. I didn't pick up either time. The third time she left a voicemail. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. I could already picture her pacing around her apartment. An apartment I helped her get into, doing her dramatic breathing thing, arms flying everywhere, talking to herself while calling me controlling, jealous, bitter. Then came the voice note. This one I played. She started calm like she was giving a TED talk. Then spiraled. He said this was low even for me. That I was acting like I was better than her just because I was comfortable living like a poor person. Her words. Comfortable. Poor. I laughed. Loud. I was walking through the produce aisle when I played it and I actually had to stop and lean on my cart. I had paid her rent for 11 months. I paid her gas bill. I paid for her groceries. Her Amazon orders. Her makeup. Her vitamins. I once woke up at 2 a.m. to send her $60 because she was having a spiral and needed sushi. But now I was being accused of being too comfortable with being broke? No. That wasn't going to fly anymore. That night, I dug up her old resume, the one I had written for her 2 years ago when she said she wanted to try corporate energy just once. It had her made-up internship, her actual GPA padded by half a point, and a fake creative consulting role we invented so it wouldn't look like she'd been unemployed since graduation. I updated it. Changed her phone number to a Google Voice line I controlled. Updated her email. Set up alerts and applied for jobs on her behalf. Mostly admin roles, entry-level. Remote work only because I knew she wouldn't show up anywhere in person. I handled the cover letters. I used language she'd never use like solution-oriented and team-first mindset. I even used a template she once mocked me for having saved in my files. Within 4 days she had 3 interviews scheduled. I texted her. I booked 3 job interviews for you. They're remote. They pay. You're going. She responded almost immediately. Excuse me? You seriously did that without asking me? Who do you think you are? Then. I'm not wasting my energy doing boring admin work for $18 per hour. That's not who I am. I sent back. Then figure out who you are without my money. She didn't reply. Later that night my mom texted me. You know Lauren's trying. Maybe don't be so harsh. She's not built like you. You're the strong one. There it was again. Not built like me. Like being responsible was a genetic quirk and not just years of holding my own life. And hers, together with duct tape and dignity. I didn't argue. I didn't respond. I just sent Lauren the calendar invites and login details. Then I went to bed. She didn't answer any of my messages the next day. Didn't show up to the first interview. I figured it was over. But then on Sunday night, right before midnight, she texted. Fine. I'll try one. She showed up in a hoodie and hoop earrings and called me afterward to brag that they loved her energy and said she was a breath of fresh air. I asked, did you get the job? She said, obviously. They practically begged. It was a remote assistant gig for a startup in Colorado. Calendar management, email triage, responding to customer service tickets. $17 an hour, 20 hours a week. Not much, but something. I thought it would last a week. But then she started working. Like really working. She got up before noon. Sent emails. Called me less. Posted fewer spiritual rants. Once she even told me she couldn't FaceTime because she had to finish up a report. I didn't say anything, but it shocked me. And our parents? They acted like she just won an Oscar. My mom called and said she was proud of Lauren for taking steps. My dad said she just needed time to find her thing. Not everyone figures it out fast like you did. Fast? Took me 8 years to get to barely stable. I had no health insurance, no backup plan, and I still spent nights wondering if a single late check would sink me. But sure. I had it easy. I started wondering if maybe, just maybe, this was a turning point. Maybe Lauren finally saw the real world and decided she wanted a piece of it. It was the first time in years I allowed myself to think maybe she was changing. That maybe this time would be different. But I should have known better. For a while I let myself believe it. Lauren was working, actually working. She started using words like calendar blocks and follow-up protocol. I once called her at noon and she whispered that she was in a meeting. A real meeting. With a camera on. I half expected it to be a prank, but no, she was screen sharing and everything. It was like watching a different person. She stopped tagging me in dumb astrology memes about how Scorpios are meant to be worshipped. She didn't call me to demand oat milk at 10 p.m. She didn't say she was too sensitive for the workforce. She just worked. At one point she told me her boss had called her surprisingly reliable. She hated the word surprisingly, but I told her to take the win. She laughed and said, don't get used to me being this boring. But I could hear it in her voice. Part of her liked the stability even if she didn't want to admit it yet. She paid for her own groceries. Bought her own shampoo. Replaced the fake designer bag she'd begged me for with a cheap, neutral tote that actually looked more professional. She even started keeping a spreadsheet of her expenses. Her own version with emojis in the labels, but still. I watched it all unfold like someone watching their wildest dream cautiously come true. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for impact every time her name popped up on my phone. Then came the message that nearly made me cry. I get why you were mad. I really messed things up. I'm trying, Nancy. I swear I am. I didn't respond right away. I stared at it for almost 10 minutes. Part of me wanted to call her. Part of me didn't trust it. But I answered, trying is all I ever wanted you to do. After that, things got weird in a different way. Like pleasant weird. She started checking in with me before asking for advice. Didn't automatically assume I'd fix everything. She started offering to help. Little things like editing my resume when I was applying for a contract job, or sending me a funny meme when she knew I'd had a rough day. It wasn't dramatic. It was just human. She even made our mom cry once. Not out of drama, but because she said thank you during dinner. A real thank you. My mom actually put her hand over her heart like she was having a spiritual experience. Our dad said he was proud of her for taking life by the horns. which was a ridiculous thing to say, but whatever, it was the closest he'd come to complimenting either of us in public. And for once, I wasn't the one being analyzed or picked apart or joked about. I started thinking about the future. Like, maybe she'd keep this up. Maybe she'd build something real. Maybe we could have a relationship that wasn't based on guilt and resentment. I'd been so used to the chaos that the absence of it felt eerie. Then she got a raise. It was small, $2 an hour, but she texted me with 14 exclamation points and then called to say, "Guess I'm officially in the 1% now." I told her I was proud of her, and I meant it. The next few weeks were the smoothest we'd had in years. No fights. No money drama. No accidental comments about how I should be doing more with my life. She even came over one Sunday and brought dessert, paid for with her own card. She sat on my couch, took her shoes off, and talked about wanting to go back to school part-time. I said that would be great. She said she wanted to study psychology. I didn't laugh, because for a moment I believed it. I thought the cycle had finally broken. I let my guard down. I let myself breathe. And somewhere deep down I actually started rooting for her. But that was my mistake. Because the thing about people like Lauren, when they get even a taste of structure, they convince themselves they invented it. And the moment it starts feeling real, they burn it down just to prove they never needed it in the first place. It unraveled on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic Friday night meltdown. Not a screaming match at a family dinner. Just a Tuesday, quiet, gray, the kind of day where nothing major is supposed to happen. I was in the middle of prepping for a client call when Lauren sent me a voice memo. "I'm quitting. Already sent the email. Freedom finally." I can't even explain the relief. No warning. No build-up. Just that. I didn't respond right away. I listened to it again like I'd misheard her. But no, she'd really quit. The job that she said had changed her life. The job that bought her independence, her planner, her groceries. Gone. I called. She answered instantly like she was waiting. Asked why. She said I was tired of pretending. All this calendar and client energy? It's not me. I've been faking it, Nancy. I'm not meant to work for someone else. I said you were good at it. She replied, exactly. That's the trap. I get good, then I get stuck. And being good at something doesn't mean you're meant to do it. That sentence made me physically sit down. She said she was going to start something of her own. I asked what. She said she didn't know yet, but she had visions. "You've got savings," she added. "You could help me launch something. Just $2,000 a month. That's nothing to you now, right?" I didn't answer. I think I made a sound, not a word, just noise. He kept going. "You've always wanted me to do something real. Well, this is it. I just need space to figure it out. Think of it as a business investment. Or like emotional back pay." Emotional back pay. That was the moment I knew she had never changed. She hadn't seen the job as a step forward. She'd seen it as a temporary costume. Something to wear until people clapped. And now that people had clapped, she wanted out. Wanted to be celebrated for leaving. Wanted to be paid again by me. The call ended when I hung up. That night I didn't sleep. Not from anger, from exhaustion. Exhaustion I didn't even know was sitting in me until that moment. I started writing a list of everything I had paid for in the last year. I stopped after page 2. I couldn't even finish it. She texted again the next morning. "Have you thought about the $2,000? Just to start. I'll send a proposal if you want it to be formal." A proposal. Like this was a pitch meeting. I didn't text back. I went straight to her apartment. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me. Like this was just another regular day. She had crystals on the coffee table and incense burning. She was wearing one of my old sweatshirts. She offered me tea. I didn't sit. I said everything I had kept in for years. About the money. The disrespect. The way our parents never held her accountable. The way she turned my support into a punchline. The way she made me feel like stability was something to be mocked. I said I was done, not with her job or her attitude, but with her. With the role I'd been forced into. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked at me like I was the one overreacting. Then she said, "Fine. If that's how it is, don't come running back when I make it big." I told her I wouldn't. I walked out. And this time I meant it. The next day I called our mom. I told her I wasn't going to talk about Lauren anymore. I wasn't going to fund her, enable her, or explain her. I told her that if they wanted to keep pretending Lauren was a misunderstood genius, they could do it without me. My mom was quiet. Then she said, "I hope you don't regret this." I said, "I've regretted every minute I let it go on. That's over now." And that was the day I stopped trying to save her. But it wasn't the end. Because what happened after that, even I didn't see coming. 2 weeks. That's how long the silence lasted. Not a single word from Lauren. Not even a fake apology or a dramatic voice memo. My parents didn't reach out either, which didn't surprise me. I figured they were circling the wagons, making excuses for her, maybe even convincing themselves I'd gone too far. I imagine them sitting around the kitchen table saying things like Nancy's always been a little intense and Lauren just needs some support right now. But then Shelby called. She asked if I'd seen Lauren's new Instagram post. I said no, I'd muted her weeks ago. Shelby said you're going to want to look. She's spiraling in full public view. So I checked, and there was a long, overly filtered selfie of Lauren staring into a mirror with fake tears drawn on using some app. Captioned, "Sometimes you have to walk away from people who smile in your face while slowly crushing your spirit. Some wounds wear masks. Family can be the heaviest chain. I choose peace. I choose freedom. I choose me." Beneath it comments poured in. "You're so brave. Keep shining, babe. Your sister was always jealous. Energy doesn't lie." Then I saw it. One comment from a girl I barely recognized. Someone we both knew from high school. "You deserve better. I remember how Nancy used to treat you. Stay strong." I felt something deep in my chest. Not rage, something colder. A kind of final disconnection. Like someone had just closed a door and locked it from the other side. Later that day I got a voicemail from my mom. Her voice was tired, like she was carrying something but wouldn't name it. She said Lauren had moved back in. That she was exhausted emotionally and spiritually, and just needed to reset. Reset. That word again. It was the same word they'd used when Lauren quit college sophomore year. When she dropped out of her wellness coach certification because the instructor gave off scarcity energy. When she abandoned her last job and blamed the colonial structure of 9 to 5s. Reset. My mom asked me to be compassionate. You know how Lauren is. She doesn't mean to hurt people. She just panics sometimes. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled out an old journal. I flipped through years of entries. Notes I'd written to myself after covering her rent, paying her overdue fines, fighting with landlords on her behalf. All the times she cried, promised it would be different, and then disappeared until she needed something again. And then 3 nights later she texted me. Just 2 words. "I'm sorry." It sat there on my screen like a landmine. No explanation. No context. No real change. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later. "Can you help me out? Just for this month. $2,000. I just need breathing room. Please." She followed with a voice memo. I didn't play it. I knew what was in it. Desperation dressed up as humility. A vague story about how it's been so hard lately, and how she's trying, really trying, and how I should just trust her one more time. But I didn't trust her. I couldn't. Because I knew how this story ended. I'd read it 100 times in different fonts. It always ended the same way, with me giving and her walking away until the next time she needed saving. So I blocked the number. That was the last time she ever contacted me directly. 2 days later my dad texted me. Just a short line. "You didn't have to cut her off completely." I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have 1,000 things to say, but because I was done spending my energy convincing people to see what was in front of them. I thought cutting her off would feel like a war. I thought there'd be backlash or begging or guilt. But instead there was just silence. The kind of silence that feels like clarity. For the first time in years, I wasn't worried about what she needed, or what she was plotting, or whether I'd be pulled back in. The door was shut. The bridge was burned. And I wasn't walking through the ashes again. She wanted the world to revolve around her. She wanted support without effort, money without work, forgiveness without change. I was done giving. And the quiet that followed? It wasn't empty. It was peace. The thing no one tells you about cutting someone off is how boring the aftermath is. Not peaceful. Not triumphant. Just quiet. So, like standing in a house after the power's gone out. You keep expecting something to crash through the silence. But nothing comes. Weeks passed. Then months. No texts. No calls. No cryptic Instagram quotes with captions like "I release what no longer serves me." She stayed blocked and I didn't check. The curiosity was there at first. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. But I resisted. Felt like touching a hot stove just to see if it still burns. The family dynamic changed. Subtly at first. I stopped showing up to small things. Birthday dinners. Sunday drop-ins. The stuff I used to attend out of obligation, out of guilt. My mom kept sending invites like nothing had happened. I RSVP'd to none of them. One day Shelby messaged me a photo. Lauren in the background at a family barbecue, sitting off to the side with a cigarette and headphones in, wearing a shirt I'd bought her 2 years ago. Her hair was messy. Her face looked tired. Not sad. Just empty. Detached. Shelby added she barely spoke to anyone. Just sat there scrolling and vaping. Our uncle tried to talk to her and she told him she was mentally fasting. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. From what I pieced together, mostly through Shelby and a few cousins, Lauren never got another job. She said capitalism was dead and that she was working on content, but no one ever saw anything posted. She talked a lot about launching a podcast or a course or a brand. She started a Patreon but never uploaded anything. A few people subscribed out of pity. That didn't last. She stayed at my parents' house. All three of them pretended it was temporary. It wasn't. I heard my dad bought her a new laptop. My mom started referring to her creative season, as if it were a storm they were all waiting to pass. They let her sleep in, miss appointments, skip family events. They said she was healing. They said she was figuring things out. But the truth is she stopped trying. And when no one forced her to get up, she just didn't. She turned 21 that fall. No party. No plans. Just a dinner at home. My mom posted a photo of her blowing out candles, her eyes half shut, wearing the same hoodie she used to wear to my apartment when she wanted money. Caption read, "Our girl. So wise. So full of light. Light." I stared at that photo for a long time. Not out of anger. Not even resentment anymore. Just a strange kind of disbelief. Not that she ended up there, but that I ever believed she wouldn't. I still think about her sometimes. Not often. And never in a way that makes me want to pick up the phone. I think about how many times I bailed her out. How many excuses I made on her behalf. How many times I twisted myself into someone small and quiet just to keep the peace. And for what? She lives in the same bedroom she grew up in, door always shut. She borrows my mom's car when she wants to get inspired, and uses my dad's credit card for DoorDash. She posts once a month now, usually a blurry sunset or a journal covered in stickers, with captions like "new chapter loading." But there's no new chapter. Just the same blank page again and again, waiting for someone else to write something in. Me. I moved on. I got a better job. Bought a car. Started saying no without flinching. I stopped apologizing for being the one who kept things together. For having boundaries. For walking away. And every now and then when I see a text from someone new asking for a favor, or a family member telling me Lauren's still struggling, I just shake my head. Because the truth is she wasn't the only one who needed to reset. I did too. And this time I did it for real.